Hello and welcome back to my garden. I'm standing underneath this tree because A, it's in shade, and B, I wanted to show you I built my second bench. And I purposely put this bench here for two reasons. One, it's in shade as you can see, and basically from this time now, which I think is around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, until the evening, it's in shade all day, which is great because here in eastern North Carolina, many a days are very hot and you're seeking shade just to get out of the sun. The other reason being is it looks straight down the grand walkway. But that's not what we're here today for. Today, I'm going to be dividing an iris. That iris back there specifically. Let's take a closer look at that. This monstrosity here is a southern blue flag iris. And it's gotten quite large, and I do like it. I think it flowered this year, I'm not 100% sure. But we're definitely digging this up, and we're going to divide it. And I'm going to replant this blue flag right here. So you can see right here next to between the mum and my little drainage pool, let's call it, there's a blank spot. So I could put one there. I could put one a little further back over here. Obviously I could put some back right here. And I could put more elsewhere here in the front garden because I have space and give it more sunlight. Let me also show you one of the other reasons why I want to divide this. This is the center of the plant. So you can see how it's just splaying out, spreading out. And that's one of the reasons why this plant looks so large. So I'm going to start by giving this thing a haircut. Now I've read many articles, because I'm not an expert, and I have done this before, but because I'm not an expert, I did refresh my memory with some Google fooing, and many of them say, oh, just pull up your iris and then cut the leaves back. In this instance, I'm going to cut the leaves back first, then dig up my iris, because I think it'll be easier for me to handle. Well, there we go. It's now cut back. I will probably do a further trim up and clean up once I get this dug up, but I thought I'd just show you guys. And it is quite sizable. And I can probably see right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to say at least 8 different plants from this. But we'll see. So the next step is to dig this up. So what you can see here, hopefully, if the camera focuses, is a mass of roots and rhizomes. And what I did was I washed it off as much as I could. And that's going to allow me to hopefully see better as I start dividing it. So let me start doing that now. So the first thing I want to see is if I can take maybe some of these top rhizomes and just tease them loose. Or maybe the edge ones. I've never grown blue flag iris before. I know it likes moisture. And if you're watching this and you're cringing in utter terror because I'm just manhandling this and tearing at it, please leave those comments below. But what I'm trying to do is, there we go, get a rhizome off. So what we have here is a set of leaves, good roots, and the rhizome itself. So this guy, I would say, is ready to go planting again. So we're going to set him aside, or her, whatever you want to call these things. And I'm just going to tear off another chunk. A lot of the other irises I've grown before are Siberian, or what's the other one? Bearded. And the roots don't seem to get as crazy as this. Now, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm pretty sure I'm correct in this, because this wasn't a very damp spot, the Siberian iris really likes wet moisture. So that's why I had it next to the drainage pool, as it were, the downspout drain pool, splash pad, whatever you want to call it. And what I'm doing here is just trying to get rid of a lot of these smaller roots that, I don't know, call me crazy, but in my opinion, I think just clogging everything up. And theoretically, what should happen is once this is replanted, growth should be re-stimulated and it should start growing again. So here's another one. You got a rhizome, a lot of good healthy roots, and a lot of leaves here. So this looks like a good plant. That's two. Excellent set of roots. You can see like this right here. This is just a clump of all sorts of, I would say, secondary roots. And it just doesn't need to be there. So we're just going to tear that off. What we really need, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, again, if I am, let me know in those comments, is a lot of these thick white tuberous roots. Not really tuberous, but they're very thick white roots. And from here, all sorts of new roots will grow. See how long this guy is? I think I may trim him back. Or just do that. Now here, I've got a bit of rhizome. I've got a stalk, but no leaves. So I'm not going to regrow this. We're not going to try to regrow it or replant it. Is this how you guys divide your irises? Let me know in the comments below. If you use a tool or tools, let me know again. I mean, theoretically, I could break out my hori-hori knife. I don't think that'll be necessary. We still have a good rhizome here. Not a lot of roots, but we don't need a lot of roots. Theoretically, it'll regrow its own roots. In fact, where the plant is pushing out, there's new roots here. These are the older roots. In fact, I could probably do that again, shortening the rhizome. All right, the next thing I'm going to do, so remember I mentioned trimming back the leaves here. I'm going to give these leaves a bit more of a trim. Just like that. So there's not a lot of leaf. And this reduces the stress on the plant, or so I'm told. Let these dry out, let these wounds dry out. And then in a couple hours, we'll start planting. So, it's been a few hours since we dug up and divided the iris and trimmed them, and I trimmed them all back. And now, I'm gonna turn around and start planting them. Now, I didn't know, and while I was waiting a few hours, I did some homework, but flag comes from the Old English flaggy, flag. I'll put it on the screen here maybe. And basically it means it likes water. And that's probably why it was doing so well right here, because this is the splash pad for the downspout. And when we get super heavy rains, it fills up with water. So the iris was really loving it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to plant the iris here all along the downspout runoff. I'm going to tuck these guys right in. And they say to space them about 12 inches apart. 12 to 14, I think, is the recommended. Something along those lines. And they do like fertile or even free draining sandy soil. But the key component, from my understanding, is they want to be wet. So if you can keep them moist, the better. I'm trying to think where I should put the next one. Oh, to be younger and more nimble. I'm going to stick this one right about here. And the soil right here, well, a few years ago, it was nothing more than a hot mess. Here's a clump of roots. It was nothing more than a hot mess. And when I built these beds, some of you old, long-time subscribers may remember, there was nothing here but grass. And when I redid the front walkway, I didn't want to be mowing on both sides of the walkway, and I wanted more garden, so I actually built these beds here. And I created this downspout drain, as it were, to allow water to obviously move away from the house, goes down to the splash pad. Now also, from my limited knowledge, from my understanding, unlike many other irises, you can bury the rhizome. I wouldn't bury it deep, but it's not like bearded iris, which prefers its rhizome to be very close to the surface, if not on the surface. I'm not an iris expert. I'm learning, but I'm not an iris expert yet. Again, if you have any comments, thoughts, etc., please leave those comments below. Look at that massive clump of roots. So I guess it was a good time that I dug them up, because this way they can start to form new roots. Now, apparently they do like sunnier spots, and this is not the sunniest of spots. So I will be planting some on the other side over here in a moment. Okay, tucked in. I think we can get one over here. I'm going to plant the last one back over here. We are further away from the drain spout, but theoretically, it should still be okay. And if it's not, I'm not too worried. Because I don't know if I've mentioned, but from the one plant we dug up, we got 11. That's pretty amazing. Now there is a Batoni right here, and I think I'm going to take that up and replant that someplace else, but not today. That'll be a project for another day. Same thing with these daylilies. I think I'm going to move these daylilies right here. Now this is an iris. Zinnia will be coming out in the fall, and these are other irises as well. They can stay there. But for now, I think we got a good planting of the southern blue flag iris. And of course, give it a good water, which not only will give water to the plants to drink, but also help settle the soil around those roots. And they should start growing again soon, hypothetically. So there we go. I dug up and divided my southern blue flag iris. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I was going to do it earlier in the year, but you're not supposed to do that time of year. But now we're getting into fall, or we're still in summer, but we're getting close. My 10-day forecast shows a lot of clouds, slightly lower temperatures, I think high 70s, low 80s. Rain, possibly, which is good. So I think this was a good time. If I waited a little longer, it would have backed up into more of the projects that I have to do or I want to do this fall. So I thought now is a good time to do it. It's done. Hopefully most, if not all, survive. Irises I find are pretty hard to screw up. So if you're new to gardening, then maybe give an iris a try. If you've grown a flag iris before, whether it be blue flag or some other kind of iris, please let me know in the comments below. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave those below. There's more projects coming up for the fall because we're getting to that time of year where things are starting to cool off. There's fall plantings to be done. In the fall, especially as the temperatures cool off and hopefully more rainy days ahead, is another good time to dig up and transplant some of those plants so that hopefully they can get a good rooting in before the winter time. It all depends upon where you live in the country. Here in eastern North Carolina, growing zone 8B, I could probably get away with digging up that Batoni in the next few weeks and moving it probably out to the flower garden someplace. And by the time winter and the freezes come in, it should be well established, hopefully, and survive our relatively minor and cold winters compared to most of the rest of the country. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video. Sophie and I would much appreciate it. And this way you can follow along with our antics. If you haven't checked out all the links below in the description, please go check out those links in the description below. There's links to my website, links to my music, links to all sorts of stuff. It is nice sitting here in the shade. And with all that being said, I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Come on, Sophie, let's go.